I feel like I've always kind of been able to manifest things. There are definitely ways of getting people to fall in love with you using certain bodily secretions. Start off by collecting my herbs, roots and powders and putting them in I hate the word, mortar and pestle.
Hello and welcome back to the Bethnal Archives Paranormal Podcast. This is your one-stop shop for all things spooky and paranormal. Today we've got a fantastic guest with us, Sareta Fontaine, who is a spiritual practitioner and the owner of Wax Spiritual in Colchester. So, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we've got a lot to talk about today and some really exciting stuff. I guess give us a broad overview of what you do and what Wax Spiritual is about.
So I call myself a spiritual practitioner, basically because I can't tick a box. I make spiritual items, people that may want rituals for certain things, talismans, lots of different things, but under the guise of spirituality. It's not necessarily one specific practice that I do. I would say it's an eclectic mix, and I'm sure we're going to touch upon that later. But yeah, that's what I do in a nutshell. But I own Wax Spiritual, which is a spiritual shop. Again, it doesn't serve one spiritual direction or purpose. There's lots of things connected underneath the guise of spirituality, and hopefully there's lots of different things for people to use in their own practice or to learn.
What got you into spirituality and maybe like going on from that, like spellcrafting and paranormal?
I feel like I've always kind of been able to manifest things that I've wanted in various ways, even if it's something minute as a kid. I've kind of always been that person that gets what they want through the power of putting it out there and asking.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And even making things or working with different tools or kind of symbolic rituals, and I say that lightly because it's all, I think everything I've done is symbolic, even if at the time I didn't realize it was a ritual. And then looking back now, I'm like, that was a ritual. That was obviously a ritual.
What ways can rituals manifest?
Tiny things. So there's lots of things that people do and not realize it's a ritual. So imagine even blowing out candles and making a wish on a birthday cake. That's essentially a ritual, and it's using candle magic. It's using your power of suggestion and manifesting a wish and using that with something symbolic in a celebratory setting. So there's joy, there's candle magic, there's the power of wishing and suggestion. And that in itself is a ritual. So even something like that, I would say, but trying to get over the first boyfriend, let's say, and I had a picture and I'm like, I just want to get him out of my mind. So I remember ripping it up and putting it in the loo and flushing it away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know why I did that, but for me at the time it was like, I'm getting rid. That's symbolic. I'm flushing him away, but in kind of the most crude sense as well. And again, looking back, I'm like, that was a ritual. So it's kind of small things along the way. And do you remember, like, as a kid, you might have made a wish on a dandelion and letting those seeds float away?
Yeah.
That's quite symbolic of using nature in a way, because you're making a wish, you're putting it out there into the universe, but then those little dandelions will fall and then grow.
Yeah.
And you don't know how many of those grow, but I just feel like if enough of them grow, and even one, that's so powerful and creative as well. So it's those kind of small things back in the day.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because one of our previous podcasts we talked about the power of language and words and putting things out into the universe. So what you're saying is you're almost like backing that up with the idea that you know, stuff that you say with meaning, with intention, even if we don't realize it, it does put power into the universe that may manifest into something else.
Absolutely. And I'm always a firm believer of speaking kindly to yourself as well, because you can self-sabotage by saying things negatively about yourself, and that in itself is putting the power of suggestion and putting it out there. So you're kind of manifesting negativity on yourself as well. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so we'll dive into some of the questions I've got, and then from that we'll start looking at some of the stuff you brought in.
Okay.
What do you think the current state of the paranormal community is in a modern 2025 context?
I feel like I wouldn't say the introduction of social media, because we've had social media for a long time. I just feel like there's so many different types of content that's out there about the paranormal, and I think it can get a bit skewed or lost or kind of used for entertainment purposes. And I'm very much the type of person that respects spirit and respects the energy, rather, even if it was, say, someone that had passed, or just energy from a specific place or a time. I'm quite respectful. So I think possibly that kind of respect has been lost. Not on all platforms, obviously. But I think a lot of it's used for entertainment, because it's like, ooh, a ghost. Ooh, that's fun. Ooh, let's look into that. And I've seen certain, there's like haunted places, for instance, and lots of different podcasts or things that go there, and it's like for the kind of shock value or entertainment, and it's like, oh, we connected something, and it's like kind of mocking in a way. So I think possibly that kind of route kind of irks me, because there's still the sense of you need to be respectful, possibly.
I think there's a lot of content that is just for the scare factor. They want to see people jumping at leaps. It's it's amusing to see other people being scared.
Absolutely.
And so that's being exploited, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously with like films and stuff, loads of misconceptions about different practices and even spirits. So I feel like that plays a part into what people think this type of work is, or they'll see certain symbology and think almost immediately that's evil, or all spirits are evil and you have to protect yourself from all spirits and let's get rid of all of them. It's like, I feel like you need to understand that not all spirits are bad. Some need understanding, some need healing, some need acceptance, or just acknowledgement, really. So I kind of come from the place or direction of respect, and I feel that's kind of what's missing, possibly, in some spaces.
Our previous interviewee Richard has some really interesting ideas about what he sees as spirits, or maybe what he sort of says they're not. What's your view on spirits?
It's a mixture. I definitely believe there's past energy that may have come from people that have passed, but I feel like there's different types of energy that weren't human, and also energy and residue from past situations or chaos. So even if there was something small like an argument, I do feel like some of that energy can linger, but then can manifest depending on what's coming into that space, who's coming into that space, but also possibly past energy amplifying that as well. So I think it's a mixture. I don't just believe it's people that used to be here. That seems similar to some of the views we've had previously.
But where do you see how you fit into this sort of realm of all of us people who are like making stuff and putting things out there?
First of all, I kind of see myself as genuine, and I use that word primarily because since having the shop, I've noticed quite a lot of social media content driven entertainment, especially around spell work, which I think is a shame, because a lot of people don't know about it and want to get into it, and they're primarily looking at those sources to learn. And I do feel like you need to do more research than that, like speak to people, get out there in real life, but also books as well. But the way I fit into it is I feel like I'm here to help or to guide. So a lot of custom work that I do, people come to me if they've got an issue they need to work with or work through, whether that's protection from a certain situation. And protection is so varied. It can be protection from an annoying neighbor to something quite sinister in your home, or financial assistance, or they may need help connecting with their guides to work on a situation. And by doing that kind of support or guidance, I might write a ritual, I might create a product like a candle to work with, or incense, or a talisman, or just give them a reading for what they may need to do, because sometimes they might not need anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone that pushes like, okay, get this massive shiny ritual, because sometimes you don't even need that. It could be something small, like a small tea light, and just meditating or just creating some space and saying something from your own self. And that's the other thing as well. It's like, I will write rituals, but I do feel like in certain situations it's more powerful if it's someone's own words, because I do feel those instances where people need to use their own power but also believe that they've got it within themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess within this whole kind of spirituality world, I'm here to help, but to guide, but to remind people that it's within them as well.
Yeah. Cool. Great. So let's talk about this. So what actually is spellcasting? What, in a modern sense, like how do we create spells, and what do we do with them?
So it's different for everyone, and there are so many different types of practices. There's so many different types of working, and I do feel like it's like trial and error. You need to kind of find your jam, find what you love working with. Me personally, I love working with candles. I don't know what it is, but that's my jam, and I like to be quite creative with that. But that's because I'm a creative person. Some people might feel that they just need a small plain candle, one white little plain candle, and I'm like, that's not me. That's cool for you, but me, I want like, yeah, let's get symbology in there, let's get color in there, let's get scent, let's add things and just think outside the box. I get really excited about being able to place creativity in my work, but also respect as well, because again, it's like when you're doing spell work, you're working with something, whether that's a candle or herbs, roots and powders, or a scent or something, and it's like always being respectful and giving gratitude towards that. Because if you don't give gratitude, and it's a case of always asking, always doing spells and not thinking about what energy's gone into that or where those things have come from, and continuously doing it without paying respect, it's almost like having a friend and just always borrowing money, always asking for something, which is very one-sided. I just get really excited about different methods of working, and I may read something in a book and put my own twist on it, because again, there's books and there's references, and I'm very much like, it's like having a recipe. You can have the basics in a recipe, and you might make that over and over again and just lose a bit of I don't know, inspiration. And it's important to be like, right, well, I might try that because I just feel in my intuition that that might be better in it, and remove something. So I do feel like with spell work or spell casting, there's a lot of trial and error, and you kind of have to finesse it to be great. And I think the more that you do, the better that you become.
I think what I found is when I was doing it, you can make something that has all the correct ingredients, but if you want something that also is going to feel nice and and be a pleasant experience, you can't always use everything that is positive. So I was making some love spells, and I can't remember the exact ingredient that I used. It might have been, I think it was sage actually. So I wanted to I used it as a base for it, but it actually made it kind of made it smell so acrid. It had that sort of tang that sage has. For a love spell, I felt it kind of puts me off. So I was like, I'm actually gonna lose that. And I think I used I can't remember what it was, but I used something else as a base instead, just so it had that nice sweetness. And I think it was had vanilla as well.
Yeah.
But I found that, oh no, that's right, I do remember now. I added a bit of sugar.
Yeah.
That sweetness.
Yeah.
But sugar for an incense that you burn on a thingy become like it was it's like burning. So I was thinking here, technically it's correct to use, but for the type of spell that I was using it in, it made it smell horrible, and I was like, that's not the effect I want for a love spell.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's trial and error and mixing those blends. And again, it depends on what your spell is about. Is it gonna be burning on a charcoal disc, and is that going to smell nice? Because obviously the properties change.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Or even having it in a candle, some things don't go together. And does it go well in the wax? Or if it's in a pouch, is it just going to go moldy or turn other things weird? So it's always just trying these different things. But again, you can't just pick everything out of a book and assume it's going to work. That's the thing. And everything's with intention, because there's different herbs, roots and powders and oils and stuff that can be used for different things, which is why the intention's so important, and being very specific as well with your intention.
Yeah.
There was a lovely customer, bless her. I can say because no names.
Yeah.
She did some work, and I'm very honest when people try to do love work when the other person is not involved or has left. So she wanted her boyfriend back, and she did this, but apparently she had an ex, two exes that had the same name,
right? And
the ex that she didn't want came back because they had the same name. So I'm like, yeah, you have to be very specific in what you want. Don't be shy, say it out exactly, because otherwise, you know, it will come back in a different form, especially if it's not really meant to be for you.
Yeah,
that's the other thing as well. So and there's many people that use photographs of people in their workings, which is why some people don't want to share much on social media or even their face, because it's very easy to find a picture of someone nowadays. So yeah, there's loads of various ways of incorporating different things to cast a spell. And I just find it also fascinating. I love seeing how others work. I love seeing what they use in their work. And I think that kind of inspires me as well. Not to say that I'm copying, but I'm like, I kind of like that. I respect what you're doing, and it's really powerful to see.
Are there any outlawed methods of spell making, spell casting, that sort of thing? And yeah, we'll start with that one. Is there anything that you know of that's maybe that definitely works but is maybe not advised?
Probably referring back to the love magic, like the getting your ex back and getting someone who you don't even know to fall in love with you. There are definitely ways of getting people to fall in love with you. Using certain bodily secretions, especially placing them in food and getting them to eat them, which is why my dad always says never eat at someone else's house. He doesn't accept food from anyone. But when someone comes into the shop, or I might get a request for that type of work, I will say no. I've seen what happens to people when they have had some spell work on them, and it's a form of control. So I always explain, you can do this work, and there's lots of things in the shop that they could do to get this person. I'm not going to give you instructions, but there's stuff. But you need to realize what you're gonna get is not the version you think you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get the type of person that is being controlled, but also a bit confused because they're not gonna realize why they're in this situation. It's kind of like I refer to as like a zombie state.
Okay.
So they'll be within your life, you'll have them, but they won't be present.
Yeah.
So you won't get the version that they are with their friends. You won't get love and admiration in its truest form. There'll be no passion there. It will literally be like some kind of zombie that is not even thinking straight, just with you. So I'm like, what is the point? That's not what you're gonna want. It's pointless. So I'm always like, rather than do that, why don't you work on yourself? Do some glamour magic, like self-love and confidence, so you'll attract who is meant for you. And maybe you might attract that person. They may just notice you more because you've enhanced all the good qualities about yourself rather than get them this way. So yeah, I know that lots of people do that type of work, and I'm like, there's no point. They're gonna end up cheating on you. They're not gonna like you, but they'll be there, but it's pointless.
Yeah. So I quite like I always make stuff that's more like a lure magic.
Yeah.
The idea that you are putting it out into the world that you're someone that you want to find the right person.
Right.
And if that person happens to be the one that you're hoping it be, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think, love magic, like for making someone specific fall in love with you is basically like puppeteering almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've even had people ask me, did you do any work to get your husband? I'm like, no. Because number one, I'm confident enough to be like, well, if that person wants to be with me, then they want to be with me because I haven't done anything. I would hate to think that someone's only with me because I did some work.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that instance, I wouldn't touch that side. No way. No way. So that has yeah. Well, you're attracted to that one. So that's actually a protection pouch. So this is just an example of a magical pouch that I could produce for someone. So that lives in the shop. But that one I actually specifically made as protection.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I have in the shop for protection. I'm not going to talk about everything because you can't, you keep some things private. But that is a protection pouch. Some people call it a magical pouch. A spell pouch, a gree-gree, a mojo bag, but essentially it's the same thing. So it's like having spell work contained in a pouch. Some spell pouches contain different herbs, roots and powders, and maybe dressed with a specific oil, like say protection oil, a crystal. You can say you were going into love magic and that kind of thing. You could have one that enhances or attracts. So you could have something like a crystal like rose quartz and rose petals. So the sort of things that you would have for love and admiration, or things that are like confidence, like carnelian in there as well, and just carry it around with you. Yeah. So magical pouches can be used in loads of different ways. You could keep them in the home. So like that one is in the shop, so that's for protection.
And so what this is made and it's tied, you just keep
so you don't open it. It's kept tied, which is why it's got so many different knots in there, and so everything is contained. You could just keep that anywhere in your house. You could keep it private. Some people like to hang them above their front door as a kind of talisman for protection, so not allowing negative people in your space, or people might come in anyway, but just not allowing their energy
to linger and affect you.
100%. But also it could be used for paranormal stuff. In terms of protection, there's different types of protection you would need, like I was saying before. So that's why I'm very specific in my workings. If someone wants protection, I would be like, right, protection against what? It's very specific, because the protection I would do for, say, an annoying neighbor would be very different to someone saying harmful things or some kind of entity. And even entity work, it's like, it'd be really good to find out what type.
Yeah.
So there's that. But you can have the pouches for anything really, money, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just a different form of spell work.
Okay, welcome back. So because we've been, allowing certain spirits and entities into the space, I thought this is a great opportunity to do a bit of cleansing and show firsthand how we might do this, and also maybe to give the audience, just like a couple of freebies of like ingredients they could use like at home and how they go about it. So what we've done here is obviously, find something safe to do. So we've got a bit of a wooden, and then metal lid, and then a charcoal disc. If we want to grab the matches behind you, we want to light this up. And so after this, I'll be putting this into a bucket of sand for safety. So obviously at home though, you want to have something that you can put it in that's quite safe.
Yeah, you would have even a dip.
I was thinking.
Oh, okay. I was going to say you need an iron cast pot. And very much like, don't just try and use like one of them vaporizer things that are made out of clay or something like that, because it will crack. It's like having charcoal that you would put in a barbecue.
This gets extremely hot, but metal, wood, and then yes, we'll go into a bucket of sand, so we'll be absolutely fine.
Oh, okay. Something doesn't want me to use this.
Doesn't want to go.
No. I'll be much slower. Okay. So I would also use tongs with charcoal, because if you're lighting it, oh wow. If you're lighting it, you really need to have it kind of not touching the bottom of a surface, so everything can heat up, and then the charcoal will last longer. Why are these matches not wanting to?
I did that.
Yeah. Okay, I did you do.
Perfect. That's going off.
That's not me.
That's going off now.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So we can carry on talking while this is smoking up. So talk us through some of the sort of basic fundamentals. So you're making, like, you want to cleanse the space. There's some bad juju in the space.
Yeah.
What would be the sort of basic fundamentals that you can maybe just get from the supermarket if you don't have a wax spiritual near you?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it was a case of not having a wax spiritual near you, a simple charcoal disc. Sage is a great one. That's been used for hundreds of years. And also people use that in their roast dinners. I believe it's got medicinal properties in it. So when it's burnt, it actually cleanses nasties in the air, so like bacteria and stuff as well. So it's actually used in lots of different various ways for actual cleansing. So you could burn a piece of this, and again, if you are going to your supermarket and you get those little herbs in jars, perfect. Me personally, I would probably add a bit of rosemary.
Yep.
Rosemary is very good for protection, but specifically protection for women. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously connected with feminine energy, so it's very good for that. And what else could you get? Time's quite a cool one, because it's very grounding in a sense that it will give courage, but also just kind of getting rid of that anxiety, and it's great for nightmares as well, I find. So that combination is good for protection, because it's kind of getting you to just chill, because I think sometimes if you're on high alert or anxious, you might be worrying about it, and your emotions can affect what goes on as well.
Yeah.
And especially if you're working with spirits that you want to get rid of, they're feeding off your anxiety, so it's kind of counterproductive.
Yeah.
So again, thinking outside the box and not just going for things that you know is for protection, but also incorporating things that may be working for you and making you stronger.
So like a Sunday roast dinner could also not only just feed your family, but cleanse the house of spirits.
Literally. And I'm assuming, but maybe somewhere back in the day, there's things as kitchen witches that use specific things and herbs, especially for conjuring, but in their food and like feeding. So yeah, I would use those. And bay leaf. I love bay leaf. Bay leaf is like clear quartz in crystal form is great for everything and just amplifies everything. So I'm just like, yeah, let's get some bay leaf in there as well. You could also incorporate salt, but not burning salt.
Right.
Because that's not good. I think it starts popping and sparking. I think it did that in science in school or something. You could have a bowl of salt next to it. Salt's great for purification, for protection. Some people might put bowls of salt within their home, but it also gets rid of like damp as well, which I think is a sign of some kind of paranormal activity in your home. Not to say all damp comes from that activity, but it's quite interesting that there's those crossovers there.
Yeah. Maybe from the coldness.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So it's gone white, so I guess we'll add a small sprinkling so we don't make too much smoke until the fire alarm's off. But
so if I was going to be using this particular incense for banishing work, I would have actually done pre-work. So this isn't necessarily to cleanse the space, it's to banish and get rid. So it's a specific intention. So before this, I would have done some cleansing work. There's various ways, and it depends on your practice and your beliefs. Some people like to burn sage and burn that and use the smoke to get rid of NC or energy, especially in corners of dark places that might be a bit cobwebby, and hopefully you've cleaned them beforehand. And saying your intention out loud, I want to cleanse this space, and for particular reasons.
yeah,
There's also spiritual waters that you can use. A favorite of mine is Florida water.
Yep.
That's also a cologne, and it's been used forever to get rid of bad energy, stagnant energy, that kind of thing. Or some people like to use crystals, and some people just like to use the power of their own mind and envision white light or clear light or a glowing light to remove any negativity and surround the space with joy and positivity. So I would have done all that first.
Okay.
That's that. And then again, when I'm doing this type of work, I'm really focused and grounded.
Right.
Some people might feel like they need to prepare, and that's just sitting quietly with their feet on the ground, so they're getting kind of like a focused, really still and strong energy from the ground.
Yeah.
And just trying to get rid of any negative thoughts, any lingering energy that they may have had from the day, or even being outside, especially in London. I always feel like when my husband's been to London, come back, I'm like, you got London on you. It's just very fast and very quick, and just like stress, or something like that. So yeah, I would ground myself, and then by putting a few drops in this, I'd have like a spoon or some tongs or something like that, but I'll use my fingers, and just placing it on there with energy. So you could say something out loud like, I acknowledge the energy that's in here and I want it to behave. If it doesn't behave, then I will remove, because I'm in control, you're not in control. So if you want to be here, you need to be respectful and behave. And you could also say what you want them to do. Like, I want you to be quiet. I don't want you to be messing about. I don't want you to be scaring people. I don't want you to be producing emotions that will cause distress or anxiety or harm. You're not going to do that, because I know that feeds you. And we're not doing anything to feed you, because you're not being fed, you're going to behave.
You feel that calming energy now coming into the room. Going off. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people might want to incorporate prayers or incorporate their own mantra as well. And like I said, spellwork's very personal. So that's why you won't see a lot of products with specific instructions. You will with something, but I'm always like, incorporate something that's from you, because that just amplifies the work. Like, again, I do custom work and custom rituals, but I'm always a firm believer of there needs to be a part of you in there as well.
Yeah.
So incorporating some of your own words and your own beliefs is very powerful.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll just clear that away to make sure we don't set the fire alarms off. But let's go on and talk about this lovely fellow here. What we got?
Okay. So this is something that I've made for the shop.
Yeah.
So I sell these types of candles, which is a 3-wick skull candle, without being dressed. So that means it hasn't got all of the oils and herbs over it.
Yeah.
However, I've done this for the shop, and it's just a representation of protection. So some people may look at that and be like, okay, that actually looks quite scary. That looks very hardcore. And it's not. It's very similar to something like this.
Right.
It's just, I feel like, again, Hollywood people thinking that things like voodoo dolls and that kind of thing have been used for evil and harm, and you stick pins and that's all nonsense.
Okay.
But this one in specifically just kind of watches over the shop. So I would start off by collecting my herbs, roots and powders and putting them in I hate the word, mortar and pestle. And grinding them down.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing that, I'm thinking of the intention. I'm thanking the energies from everything I'm using for working separately, but also collaboratively.
So it's important so even in the steps when you're grinding the stuff up, you're putting your intentions, you're saying the words into it while you're doing it.
Absolutely, because that's kind of infusing the work that you're doing and just bringing everything together.
Yep.
So even before that, I would cleanse the candle, because I haven't made this specific candle. I brought it in, and you don't know where it was made. You don't know who handled it. You don't know what they were feeling when they were doing the, like, I hate my job, and putting all of that energy into the candle.
Yeah.
The delivery driver, the courier, everything. So I will cleanse the candle, and that's either using sage, and again saying what I want it to do, thanking everything, the sage, and please remove any energy, blah 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 blah. So you're starting from a blank canvas.
Yeah.
So yeah, selected my herbs, etc., grinding them down, and really thinking with intention, like, this is protection, specifically protection in my shop, protection from jealousy, from envy, from thieves, from any spirits, from people coming in just from about lots of things.
Yeah.
And using that, and then I would choose my oil. Either I've made the oil, or I might use essential oils, and it's the same kind of process. Essential oils are made from specific herbs or plants or flowers, and they still have those properties. So when working with oils, it's like a concentrated form. It's a lot stronger, but I like to combine oils with the herbs and roots and powders just to amplify everything and just make everything like stronger. But also using that will help everything stick to the candle.
Right. Yeah.
So I would dress the candle. So that's massaging these oils into the candle and then sprinkling on everything that I've browned down and really working that into the candle. And again, with intention.
Right.
Absolutely. The cowrie shells, a lot of people are like, oh, that looks quite scary. But actually, the cowrie shells, out of all of them, probably the most tamest ingredient or addition to the candle, because cowrie shells are very symbolic and very powerful, but in connection with ancestor work and spiritual work. It's not just for decoration. So my choice to add those was for protection from my ancestors, from my guides, and placing that in the candle. So as I said, the shape can be a bit off-putting for some people, but that particular piece is just a very calming, loving form of protection in the shop.
Right.
But it has that shock factor, so it's like, okay, it looks cool too.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it, right? Like, it's that, I guess, that entrepreneurial state of you're creating stuff that's nice, but also, if people want to purchase stuff or want to see stuff, there has to be a cool factor to it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think that's what I've learned in terms of having this space. The products that I had before were very much like products that I would make at home. So even these dress candles, it would be a lot heavier. There would be so much more herbs, roots and powders and oils in there because I'm making it for myself. So it's like, yeah, if it starts a fire, I can just put it out with a blanket, it's fine. But then there's that reminder that, okay, people might be buying this and not using it for the first time. And also you don't have to be so heavy-handed, chill with the stuff. So my 7-day candles have actually changed since opening the shop. They're a bit calmer in the sense that you're not gonna get this massive fire, which I'm used to working with, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just acknowledging that's not right for everyone. And also, I don't want to be burning people's houses down.
Yeah.
There's that too.
What else have we got here? So what's this down here?
Oh, so this was actually, okay, so I'll get this out. This is another form of doing spell work, and it's kind of a reminder that you don't have to jump to this or even this. Something as simple as a tea light can be used as a candle, and it's the same principle. It's dressed, so again, it's got the herbs, roots and powders.
We'll show it to the camera.
Yeah. And it's kind of made in a similar way as dressing these. So these actually come in plain,
Like,
and then everything is added afterwards. So you would poke some holes in, add some oils and your ground additions, and I just sealed this one on top with pink wax. So the reason that I made this was because I did a reading before I came,
work.
and you were talking about possibly spirits here. So I did a reading, and the way that I do tarot readings, I don't do face-to-face readings.
Yeah.
I like to have my own space and be there present with my guides and my ancestors,
Right.
and do the readings there. So I did that before I came, and I found out a few things, but I'm like, I don't know. But the main message that I was getting, that there's definitely more than one.
Right.
They're not meaning any type of harm, which why I didn't really come here feeling like I need to be heavily protected. I took some bracelets off because I was like, I didn't need it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I'm here a lot on my own.
Yeah.
And there's definitely stuff here,
Yeah.
but they're chill.
Yeah, they're okay.
They wanna.
Yeah.
They're bored.
Yes. So I got that, but the main thing I got was that there was a lot of sadness there, and possibly mistreatment, either when they passed or afterwards. And there's definitely, obviously, more than one. And the small boy that you spoke about is there. But the funny thing that I found out is that they don't all get on, and I think that I just assumed, like,
Oh, right. Yeah.
you know,
They're all in it together.
yeah,
But
they're not. No. And there's one particular female presence that was kind of acknowledging what the boy went through, and she's kind of like a maternal figure for him, but also others. But I wrote everything out for you. But yeah, going off on a tangent. The reason why I made this specific candle was because collectively they were saying the same thing. They wanted to be acknowledged, but they wanted peace and healing,
right.
and not to be kind of made into a spectacle, which is kind of what we were saying before with the other. Tila, are you a bit guilty now?
No.
Or not? Or not?
No, well, I guess, I do talk about them.
Okay.
I guess I'm acknowledging them.
Yeah.
I fully believe that they're here.
So that was it. It was not seeing them as ghosts,
Right.
seeing them as spirit and acknowledging that.
Okay.
So just a bit more respect on that side. But you can have a read.
Okay.
And they even wanted to give you a direct message as well, so you can have that later.
Okay, great.
But it was not a case of they want big grand offerings.
Yeah.
It was just something small, so I did that, and that's for them here, and you can do that when you're
Okay. Great. Yeah. Well, I'll apologise to them, and and we'll
yeah Yeah.
In fact, some of the people say goodbye to them when they go.
Oh, yeah. They did acknowledge that there's, yeah. Yeah, you'll read it later.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Awesome. Oh, yes. So, voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Okay, so they are two different things.
Yeah.
So voodoo is a religion.
Right.
And there's different types of voodoo as well, depending on where it's practiced. So there's Haitian voodoo, there's New Orleans voodoo, but essentially that is a religion.
Right.
It's based in tradition, strong values, ancestral work, and it's not like dark magic. It's not like sinister magic. It's not baneful or harmful. There's a lot of respect, and yeah, I don't practice voodoo, but yeah, that's the main thing with voodoo. Hoodoo is derived, so it's kind of like say my shop, there's a massive umbrella and there's voodoo. It's like Christianity, there's lots of different denominations.
Right, yeah.
Hoodoo kind of has stemmed from that, but originated in America during slavery times. So hoodoo is actually about survival. It's about working with what they've got, but also Christianity within that as well. So a lot of people that were taken from their countries, and obviously in America at the time, weren't allowed to practice what they did. It's like they were stripped of everything, their names and their religion. So there would be certain saints. So for instance, Virgin Mary, which is a Catholic, Mama Jesus. So what they would do is they would have their Lawa, which is like a deity, but not the same thing.
Yep.
And they would adopt a saint to kind of cover what they were doing. So there's like the Black Madonna, Erzul Dantor, they would pray to her, but to masters and everyone else, it would be like, oh, it's a Virgin Mary, so it's okay. So that's why there's elements of Christianity in there.
Right,
So,
okay.
but they would also use like Psalms. So this book here, it's Hoodoo in the Psalms. So there's lots of psalms that you would use and prayers, and for certain situations, and that would be used alongside things like candle magic or incense, and there's loads of different things. And that's kind of what I use sometimes, depending on what I'm working with and working on. I may refer to that book, because it's not a case of I'm practicing hoodoo, because I acknowledge that I'm not African American. My ancestors, as far as I know, aren't from there, but there's lots of crossovers, especially in African derived spirituality. And I guess that's what I was saying before in terms of having an eclectic mix. There's bits and pieces I take, but respectfully so. Like, I wouldn't say that I practice voodoo or do anything to do with voodoo, because I'm like, I have no idea about it, and I don't want to be like, I'm no rude.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And it's not aligned with who I am or what I do or what I know. So it'd be pointless anyway. So yeah.
Interesting. And you mentioned earlier about the voodoo dolls.
Yes.
And I did see there was it a voodoo doll in the shop?
Some people, and that's the thing, there's so many names. Like I was saying about the magical pouch, and it's difficult. I think because my shop isn't so niche, some people say it's very niche, but I'm like, it really isn't.
Yeah.
Because I could really go into one direction. There's lots of different names. So some people might call them voodoo dolls, some people might call them spirit dolls or puppets, that kind of thing. So I think on the label I've actually put voodoo/spirit doll, where it actually explained what that is. In my shop, there's a lot of things that have a lot of information, and I'm like, it's A4, I could do it like A0, because there's so much information, which is why I've got a website as well. But yeah, voodoo, spirit doll, puppet.
How would you sort of what really are they for? If we're not going to stick pins in them.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
But essentially, you could break it down, and spirit dolls, voodoo dolls, they still kind of have different meanings. But in terms of my shop, it's kind of a modern shop, and some people do take things and symbology from different practices and make them their own.
Yeah.
And I think you can do that if you're doing it respectfully, but understanding what you're doing isn't necessarily what that practice would be doing.
Yeah.
Same like sage as well, but some people call it smudging. And I'm like, no, smudging isn't actually it's a whole ritual. You're not smudging, you're cleansing.
Yeah.
So with the voodoo doll, the ones I have in the shop at the moment are like a blank slate.
Okay, so you can imbue what you...
Yes.
What you
100%. I completely made it myself, and it's stuffed with Spanish moss and just soft toy stuffing.
Yeah.
So Spanish moss is traditionally used in voodoo dolls
Right.
or magical dolls.
Is that like an actual moss, is it?
Yeah, it's like a moss that you can put in. It looks very stringy. It's quite annoying to work with because it's just really tough, and but I think it's used for protection as well. So again, multiple things, but specifically it's used to enhance the workings of a doll. If you wanted to, you could open it up a bit more and place other herbs, roots and powders. So like the pouch, it's another form. However, because it's in the form of a human,
Right.
it would be used for human work.
Right.
So that's where films get like,
Control. But I guess
yeah, you can.
as a way to protect yourself as well, right?
Absolutely. So it could be something that is you. Like a lovely lady bought it the other day. She's like, this would be quite nice for self-love work. So you can add things to it, like a personal charm or like a bracelet that you've always worn, and put it on there and imbue it with self-love. And you can add oils and stuff like that as well.
Would you say, like adding your own hair or anything like that?
Yeah. But obviously be very careful, because if you were going to be doing something that was on yourself, I would be very specific in putting that somewhere that someone else can't get it.
Yes.
So they can then take it, change the intention, and they're doing work on you as well.
Yeah.
But obviously it can be used to do baneful magic, obviously, as well. But yeah, those ones are completely plain, and it's up to you what intention that you want.
Okay. Interesting, yeah. I guess finally, tell us a little bit about tarot, I guess.
Yeah. I love tarot. So before I had the shop, I would call myself spiritual, but didn't really understand what I did.
Yeah.
And I'd bought tarot cards in the past. I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but never really gelled with it. Like I'd practice at home and read the book and be like, yeah, this is cool, and practice with my husband, and he'd hate it because he's like, it always comes true. I don't know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, I don't know either. But I love tarot, and since having the shop, I guess because I'm in there and working on it and working on my own craft every day, I've noticed that I've just unlocked something even more magical inside me. And with tarot, the same. And I just love it. I'm quite nosy. I'm very nosy. So the more I've done, the more I've practiced, I'm like, I wonder what that person that said that thing back 10 years ago thought of me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's do a reading. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. So it's like, for me personally, I'm not using it crudely because I'm calling it practice.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to finally find out things that I wasn't totally aware of, because it's given me clarity.
Yeah.
So it's great for clarity and moving on as well, because I'm very much someone that ruminates.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to know why, I want to need to figure out why. And I often get messages in dreams, but my brain doesn't switch off. So even when I'm dreaming, I might be working out something in the shop or working out a problem, and then I'm getting a message and I'm doing something, and I can't filter it.
Yeah.
So tarot is a great way to get clarity and to find out different things, but also incorporating it in my work and doing very specific ritual work or finding out what type of entities they're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's been great for that.
Okay. Final question is, what is your favourite type of entity, ghost or ghoul or spirit thing? It doesn't have to be something that's necessarily nice, but what do you find most sort of fascinating?
That's such a hard question because there's so many, and I've experienced quite different ones that I haven't been able to name. But I think the last entity that I was aware of, we went to a hall in London. I can't remember what it was. It was like a hall, and it was opera.
Okay.
We were just there. And as soon as I sat down, it was like a really strong scent. And I was like, the only way I could describe it was death.
Right.
And that was the first time that I'd smelled something like that. And I was like, can you not smell it? Like, I think I'm going to bed. And I had to hold perfume up to nose. It was really a lot. And I was like, I don't know what it is, but obviously something's trying to get my attention. So maybe because I'm quite sensory led, that was quite interesting. But it didn't necessarily feel like evil or oppressing.
Yeah.
It was just like...
What is it with ghosts or other entities and scents? Because that seems to be quite a common thing where smells can sort of lead us to something that's otherworldly.
I think it's just a case of trying to get your attention, trying to get noticed, and being like, hi, I'm here. And for whatever reason, they may come to different people in a way that they know will get noticed.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on in the world, and it could be something that falls over, like movement, but you might not notice that. So if I'm in a crowded hall with loads of people and they want me to notice them because they assume I'm open, it's like, well, how can we get her to like notice what's going on?
Yeah.
A smell that no one else can smell, and it smells like, I can't even, it was death. That's the only way I can explain it.
Yeah.
But I find paranormal stuff really fascinating. Like, I've seen lots of different things and couldn't get my head around it, and yeah, I just love learning about it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Thank you very much, everyone at home, for watching. Remember to like, subscribe and comment if you've enjoyed it. Big thumbs up as well if you don't like saying too much, but just to let us know that you're watching. And we'll see you next time for the next podcast. Cheers.